begin working as one. Wait, that's not right. Remember, those roads have to be exactly the same in order for them to work together. And that's going to be part of what we figure out, because in here we're going to set up EtherChannel manually and dynamically and take a look at the results. And what better place to do that than in Arizona, right here. This is the lab topology that we had set up in Arizona, where we have an access layer switch sitting up here, connected to what is kind of a collapsed core model if you're looking at Cisco design specifically. And over here on the right-hand side, we have the fiber optic cables connecting these two core switches together. Now, it's those fiber optic cables that are providing the path to get there. Now, in this environment, this path will be blocked by spanning tree. And without even looking at it, I can just say, that's one's going to be blocked. Because anytime you have parallel connections in spanning tree, it's going to be like, okay, that's a loop. And I'm always going to prefer the lower port number over the higher one, unless the bandwidth on those are different for some really odd reason, right? So if I were to look at that, let me bring up our configuration right now. Hit the enter key, get logged in. This is switch number 1. And I'm going to type in show spanning tree just to glance. And we can see right here that this switch, this switch is the root. So of course it's going to have all designated ports on the spanning tree side. So hang on, let's jump down to his brother down there, switch number 2. Just move the console cable over, click, back up to here, and do the same show command on switch number 2. Show spanning tree. And spanning tree is doing what spanning tree does, which you can see right there. Gigabit 1/0/2 is blocked. So that beautiful redundancy, which could give us some bandwidth right there, is being blocked down at the switch 2 side, actually that side specifically, because remember, each side of the connection, only one side blocks it based on the spanning tree algorithms, right? So let's do this. Let's make our first Ether channel. And the way I'm going to do it is manually. Now, so this is going to be without PAGP, without LACP, the negotiation protocols, right? I'll show you a piece of cake, easiest way to do it. So I'm going to go into, well, I'm already plugged into switch 2, so we might as well start there. I'm going to go into global configuration mode, and I'll do interface range, and we'll do gigabit Ethernet 1/0/1 through 2. So we'll get both of those configured at the same time. Here's the command. This is the one command of EtherChannel. It is channel group, and you can do more, but the one to get it working. Channel group, and you choose a number. Now, this number has to be unique on this switch. Doesn't have to be unique between the switches. So on one side, I could have channel group 1, and on the other side be channel group 10. It doesn't matter. But the interfaces on the switch have to be in the same channel group, and that switch has to have that group number be unique. Hang on, let me just draw it. It's kind of, as I sit there and stare at you right there, it kind of feels like I could do a little better. So let's just say I had this, right? On here I could have channel group 1 and channel group 2, right? This side could be channel group 1, and maybe it doesn't have another channel group, right? But I wouldn't do, and it could match, you know, I could have channel group 1, but I wouldn't, for example, like have both of those be 1. That would break something, because it would see that as one big group, and things would blow up, nuclear crisis. It wouldn't be good. So I'll get back over here. Channel group, we'll just choose 1 in this case, and we'll just say mode. Now look at our options. Just like I was showing you before, active and passive, that's our LACP options. You don't turn on LACP, it's just active or passive. Auto desirable, that's our PAGP, the Cisco proprietary one. No advantage over that and LACP. It's just which flavor do you want to choose. One was there first. On says I'm not using any protocol, I'm just turning it on, which is how we're going to do it initially. Now I'm hitting enter, watch what happens. Okay, look at that. Okay, VLAN 1 went down, back up. Port channel, boom, changed to up. What is this? That is an interface out of nowhere that just formed. And if I whoa, I had no idea you could do that. I hit something and it made my chicken scratch show back up. So I hit Control Z and do a show ether channel. And I'm going to type in summary. This is, by the way, this is your command. Look, if you just type in show ether channel, you don't get much. It's kind of like, hey, you got some ether channel going on. It's a layer 2 trunk. Right now there's 2 ports involved. And that's about all I'm giving you. There's no protocol. because you just turned it on. EtherChannel summary, that's where you get the real meat. It's like, okay, here's what I got. I got group number 1 because that was channel group 1, right? It's saying port channel is currently, what is this? Layer 2, because I'm looking up here. S is layer 2. U is in use, and these guys right here are bundled in the port channel. But it doesn't know what else is going on there because it can't really detect the other side. You just hard-coded it as on. Now, side note, I just lost an interface. Now, you might be like, well, wasn't that part of your port channel? No. This is, whoa, explosion. Actually, I had no idea that was going to happen. But it exploded because I got one side hard-coded. The other side's like, oh, I'm just doing my thing. The other side's like, I'm an EtherChannel. And in there, we just had the whole thing blow up. That I inadvertently gave you best practice number 1. Shut your interfaces down while you're configuring EtherChannel, then power them on when you're done. Because look at what happened. All these things just went into an error disabled state. Watch this. I'll do show interface. Well, let's just do show. Let's do show interface status, right? Not status. And what I can see right there is this guy went down, which is if fast Ethernet 1/0/2. Now who's that? That's this guy right here. He just went down, right? And who else? Come back over here. Getting through all the interfaces. He's down. Right? They're all down. I just took down the whole network because I manually hard-coded one side. And what I did was, the reason everything just went and blew up is because I just caused a loop in the network. Because I had one side who's like, I'm bundling interfaces. These two are one. Both of them are unblocked. The other side's like, no, you don't. The access switch is like, no, you don't. I'm seeing loops in the network. Block. So it's error. You just blew up the network. That's why the LACP, PAGP, that's why it's so valuable, is it keeps you from doing those kind of things, right? But let's get through the rest of the config and then we'll fix the network, hopefully. So I'm going to head over here. Let's move my console cable. I'm on switch 2 right now. Let's get back up to switch number 1 and hit the enter key a couple times. Let's do a show. Where was I? Show EtherChannel. So I'm just going to do show EtherChannel summary. And you can see right now there's nothing there at all. So I'm going to go into global config mode. We'll do interface range, gigabit Ethernet, and it was, what was it? Okay, 1/0/1 through 2. So is it not that? It's 2/0. So that's what. Okay, so 2/0/1. I keep forgetting which side's which. There we go. Channel group 1, and again, that first number doesn't have to match the other switch. We just do because why be crazy if you don't have to? Mode. And I'll say this side is on as well. So now I have an EtherChannel running. So I'll do a show EtherChannel summary. Right? The problem is we're down because I blew it up. I mean, all the interfaces are in an error disabled state. And once the errors have incremented or it detects a loop or something, Cisco's doing you a favor. It's like, I'm shutting that down. So it's like, the dam is coming down. It's like, no, it's putting up all these stopgaps to keep the thing from falling. But the only way to restore an error disabled state is to turn off the interface, shut down, and turn it back on. No shutdown, right? So let's do that. So I'm going to go over here. Oops. Wrong camera. Over here, and we'll get back down to switch number 2 because that's the guy that disabled most of its interfaces. Back here, I'll do global config mode, interface range, gigabit Ethernet 1/1? Yeah, 1/0/1 through 2. I'll do shutdown. Give it a moment. Moment. There we go. No shutdown. Hit enter. And, well, look at this. Channel misconfig detected on gig 1/0/1. Guys, I would love to say I planned this, but I actually didn't. Let's do a little troubleshooting. So I'll go back out here and do a show. Let's do a show EtherChannel summary. And I see it's currently down. That's the big D going across the board on both of those. So let's do a show log and see if we can see anything that's going on there. So I see. We got the interfaces, we got port channel changed to up, misconfiguration error. So interface port channel changed to up. Okay. Okay, let's do a show run, and I'll do interface port channel 1. Okay, so this is the configuration. Now, what Cisco will do is they will automatically create a port channel interface that adopts the configuration from the sub interfaces, if you will, from the physical interfaces that you join to that port channel. So it got that configuration by looking at the individual interfaces. So let's look at those. Show run interface GI 1/0/1. Yeah, that looks good. And 2. Huh, yeah, we look good there. Oh, what about this? I wonder, hang on, let's do a show interface port channel 1. Ah, see, there's what happened. We configured this originally, and it went in and blew itself up. It was like, other side loop, shut down. It shut down the physical interfaces, but it also shut down the virtual interface, the port channel interface, right? So when I went in and I shut down the physical interfaces and brought them back up, it's like, sorry, I'm still dead. Why? Because I forgot to do the port channel interface. Whoops, right there. This guy right here, I totally forgot to do that. So let's do that. I'll go into global config. I'll do interface port channel 1. And I want to make sure you guys remember, this interface just appeared when we did the EtherChannel config. The switch made it up. It's the virtual interface it creates to do the EtherChannel. Remember, I said it creates a logical interface that spanning tree no longer sees the sub interface. It doesn't see the physical, it just sees the one interface, right? That's why it doesn't block it. So need to go into that one and do a shutdown and a no shutdown. Hit enter. And we're down. We're back up. We're back up. Let's take a look. Show EtherChannel summary. Oh, that's looking better. So we got port channel 1 is currently layer 2 port channel. It's in use, and I see each one of these is a P, which is a port channel member. That is good. I'll do let's do a show spanning tree. Take a look right here. Look at this. It's no longer, look at this. It's saying, I don't see the gigabit Ethernet interfaces anymore. I just see port channel 1. Matter of fact, that's my root port. And you guys remember from spanning tree, right? You watch those, you got spanning tree, you're a stud on spanning tree, right? It's saying, I don't see the gigabit Ethernet 1 and 2 anymore. I just see port channel 1, and that is my root port. Remember, the root port is the one that it uses to reach the root bridge. But look at one other thing. Look at this. Look at this. The cost is 3. Now, if you don't remember the spanning tree cost, they may seem inconsequential to you. It's like, well, okay, what does that mean? You remember when we talked about spanning tree, the cost of a fast Ethernet, I'll put 100 megabit per second link, was 19. A cost of a gigabit Ethernet link is 4, right? But look at this. That's not a cost. That's not a thing unless we suddenly had a 2 gigabit per second link, which spanning tree is like, well, I got to make it look better than the 1. So I guess that's a cost of 3. It did that automatically. So it's saying the root port just went down in cost. So if I had, I have these guys like this that I just spliced together, whoosh, right? Cost of 3. If I went ahead and just connected another one over here just for fun, it would be seen as a cost of 4, and spanning tree would be like, oh, nope, you're a loop. I'm not going to, I wouldn't do that. But the 3 lets it differentiate between these two ports bundled together and a port that wouldn't be bundled. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Okay. So that was configuring spanning tree. No, that was configuring EtherChannel manually. Let's do it dynamically. Ready? Watch this. So, actually, before we do that, before I go there, I want to show you one other thing. I want to blow it up another way. Watch this. If I went in, the reason I'm showing you this is what happens to most people. They blow it up without even thinking. They're going too fast. They're like, oh, we gotta remove a VLAN or some other. Remember, I said there's all these things in EtherChannel that has to be the same. And I'm like, oh, I just need to remove a VLAN from a trunk. I'm gonna go switch port, trunk, allowed VLAN, remove. I don't want VLAN 40 anymore. And so I'm like, okay, good. I'm good on that. All of a sudden, it's like, bam! I just blew up the network again. Right? It's like, sorry, that's no longer compatible. I'm suspending it. I'm yanking it out of the bundle. EtherChannel just went down. This interface just went into suspended state. Matter of fact, watch this. Do a show interface GI 1/0/1. Look at that. It's like, sorry, send to the principal's office, and you are suspended because you no longer have a compatible configuration. Now, I know you and I are like, well, duh. don't do that, right? Don't remove that VLAN. Well, remember, there's all kinds of things that have to be the same between those two. And it's not always like this where you and I are talking and we're in a lab environment and we're like, okay, we're trying stuff out, right? You're in a production network with 1,000 things going on and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, right? I forgot that adding a VLAN. I have to do that from the port channel. And by the way, last note, and then we'll get to LACP because I could keep talking about this all day. Last note is this is done, right? We've got this configured from here on out. So I'm going to do a show run interface GI 1/0/1. Okay, there's one. There's two. And then I'm going to do a port channel 1. There's port channel, right? From here on out, I make my logical configuration changes. Like if I want to add stuff to the trunk or remove stuff to the trunk or modify the spanning tree cost or I go under the port channel interface and I make my changes in that configuration mode. I don't go under the physical interfaces anymore, or I risk what just happening again, where I suspend it. Any change that I put here will be replicated down to the physical interfaces, but it doesn't go the other way. If I change the physical interface, it's not going to go back up, right? Okay, let's do LACP. Watch this. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to take off the manual EtherChannel. I'll do interface range GI 1/0/1 through 2. No channel group. Done. That's it. That's all there is to it. And before I blow up the whole network again, I'm going to move my cable over to switch number 1. I'm trying to go fast so it doesn't error disable all the interfaces. Interface GI 2/0/1 through 2. Whoop. Interface range. Forgot the range. Hurry, Jeremy. Interface range, and I'm going to do no channel group. I'm just glancing at the ports on my switches. I think we're good. No, we're not. Look what happened. See my access switch right here? Port 1, 2, 3. 2 is no longer blinking. You guys see that? Do you know why? Me neither. Let's find out. Something bad happened there. Let's move our cable over to that switch and figure it out. So I'm going to do, my guess is a loop and it error disabled the interface. So I'm going to do a show interface status. It always gets me on that. Why do they make shortened commands? There we go. Look at that. See what happened? I wasn't fast enough. A loop happened and it error disabled that port. So again, this you want to call it loops in your network, play with manual EtherChannel. That'll do it every single time because it can't detect if that, and when you're starting to disable spanning tree, that's what can happen. So I need to fix that. I'm going to go into global config mode, interface fast Ethernet 0/2, shut, no shut. And guys, people ask me, Jeremy, why do you use physical equipment rather than simulations? Do you think I don't think simulations are bad. I'm just saying the kind of stuff we're running into right now doesn't happen in the simulation. It happens when you really do it on real equipment and you're like, oh my gosh. And you and I are figuring this stuff out on the fly because I've done this for years. But this is the kind of stuff that happens and you're like, what's happening? It's going to take you hours and hours to figure out. And that's good. That's what I want you to catch is that's so good. That's where you're like, I get what's going on in all of this. And you put those pieces together. Whereas like simulations, like, okay, you type the command and I'm simulating as if it all worked, but they can't simulate full on spanning tree loops that could happen. And so now you get my heart for physical interfaces. I like physical equipment. That's why. Okay. So where am I? I'm right here. Turn it back on. There we go. No shutdown. It should come back up. Looking at our interface. Yep. Look at that. We're back up. We've got all 3 lights there. Okay, good. So now, finally, you're like, please do it. I will. No, hang on. I got to switch my console cable. We're going to configure EtherChannel using LACP. If I can find that port. There we go. All right. Enter. And the cool thing is it's not hardly different at all. I'm going to go into interface. I'm on switch number 1. Hang on. Which GI. Okay, GI. Switch number 1 is GI 2/0/1 and 2. Interface range GI 2/0/1 through 2. Channel group. And hey, why not? Let's use 10 because we're cool. And we'll say mode, and we'll say active. Now, this whole thing, the active, passive, I think I mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it again. If not, if I didn't mention it, this is the first time, right? Active and passive are kind of like a positive negative. If you have two passive sides, you will not have an EtherChannel form. If you have two active sides, this is the most common question that people think of, will EtherChannel still form? Yes. It'll just take a little more network traffic than it did doing an active passive, the way it's quote unquote supposed to be. But that being said, I just do active all the time everywhere. I don't worry about, okay, which side's passive, which side's active. I'm like, too much room for mistake. Do active, have a little more network chatter. That's fine. I'm good with that because once the EtherChannel's up, I don't have network chatter anymore. Just form it. Active, active. Or if you're on the PAGP side, do desirable, desirable. That's okay. A little more chatter, but the interfaces still come up. So for me, Jeremy personally, I don't use passive. I don't use auto. I just use active if I'm using LACP or desirable if I'm using PAGP, right? So one less thing that could go wrong. Okay. So I'm back here, but now notice that even though I turn this on, I'm not getting interfacing blowing up, error disabled. Why? Because it's detecting that the other side's not configured yet, right? So it's not manually turning up something that's going to cause loops in my network. So now I can gently come over here and move my cable down, hit the enter key, exit out of whatever I'm in right now, and do, I don't know where I was. Okay, there I am, gigabit. So let's go back into where I was, because that's where I just turned it off on switch number 2. And I'm going to do the same thing. Channel group, and I'll use 10, mode active. Now, again, I'll hit the enter key. I'm going to talk while it's forming. When I'm doing this, I use 10 just to show you that we could use 10, and it's going to form interface port channel 10, and that's fine. I could have used 1 all over again, and that's fine too. I was just using 10 to do something different. So I don't want you to think like, okay, I use 1 with on and 10 with, no. Different is good. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to do show EtherChannel summary and hit enter. Now look at this. Okay, so look at this. Port channel 1, it's still there. It's hanging out, but it's like, hey, that's a thing, but it's not a thing anymore. It's down because there's no ports in it. So I could go in if I wanted to get rid of that and do no interface port channel 1, and I could make that go away. That's fine. Hit the up arrow a couple times. Show EtherChannel summary. Notice port channel 1's gone. It's fine. So there's group number 10. It's a layer 2 port channel. It's up. It's running LACP. Woohoo! And right there, those 2 ports are members. If I went to the other side, I would see that as well. But I'll just do a show spanning tree. And I can see that, once again, we've got that cost of 3. Root port is now port channel 10. This is good. This is good. Now, I think I was able to convey in one video why it's way better to use the protocols, PAGP or LACP. It doesn't matter which one of those, than it is to use the hard-coded. You hard-code things, you're asking for trouble unless you're quick and you do it exactly right the first time, right? Okay, good. I think we're good. We have set up EtherChannel manually and dynamically and checked out what happened. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.